Man, Jennifer, this is going to be a fun conversation. Yesterday was an amazing show. It really was. We had so many people show up for this. It just shows that Offsite is the future.
Definitely, and welcome everybody. This is our 51st episode of Building Modular. Can you believe it? It's almost a year.
51. That's the same age as me, Jennifer. 51, really? That's where we're at?
Do you know what people, when they ask me how old I am? And then
Yeah,
they say,
you don't ask her how old she is. That's how you.
Number.
Age is only a number. That's right.
My number's unlisted.
Your number's unlisted. It really is. You look the same as when we first started dating.
Oh, there you go. See, BS, building science.
Wrong
building
show. This is not building
systems.
science.
I'm not sure where we are.
Not building science. Where's Buzz at? Buzz will be giving us a hard time today. I already know it from that comment. All right, everybody, listen, welcome. We had such a great show. We had Brittany Campbell-Turner on, Greg Ugaldi, Jerry from Integra, and, of course, Henry Mickelberg.
Yeah, so Dave's talking about the show we had yesterday, our Monday expert interview series, where we had a roundtable discussion in terms of off-site construction. How do we advance adoption of modern methods of construction, off-site construction?
Yeah.
And today on Building Modular, this is something we want to talk about because for 51 weeks, this is our 51st message to our community, to all of you. Just inviting you to consider building systems, and our method of choice is volumetric modular construction.
It is our method of choice, and it's only our method of choice is because, as everybody probably knows that's watching, this is what we have done for so many years. We have 20 years of volumetric modular construction under our belt, everything from single family to multifamily. And that's why, today's conversation is going to be so great because, there was a lot of verification of the industry yesterday. The data is showing that, this makes sense, and we're going to dive more into this. Yesterday was only episode 1.
Right.
So why don't we hop into it, because I think Greg Ugaldi said it best, right? The 3 L's. You know what the 3 L's are, Jennifer?
Well,
I hope you do.
Let's talk about that. The 3 L's, right? This is what all builders are trying to solve for. Yesterday, we asked the panel, what is the biggest problem that we're all trying to solve for as home builders, whether it's residential, commercial, single family for rent, multifamily, regardless of what type of construction you're in. Essentially, we're all solving for this, right?
Yeah.
Lumber, labor, and land.
Lumber, labor, and land. Are we going to break all 3 of those down? Because
Well,
lumber's through the roof right now, right?
Well, that's just it. I mean, lumber prices, we were on this show, I think back in July, we were talking about the cost of lumber. And back in July, what we were talking about was that with the lumber increases, there was about a $17,000 increase to the cost of producing each home.
It's higher now.
Dave, where are we now?
I think it was $24,000 per house, right? Hey, it's right there on the screen. Good thing I remember that. Yeah, $24,000 per house. That's the increase. And last time we were talking with Greg, I think we were up 300% on it. So, this is a big deal. And this is something that really needs to be looked at. But on the other side of it, I do believe, Jennifer, that these labor shortages, that these lumber prices, it is forcing our industry to look at better ways to build. And that's what I think the silver lining out of all this is.
Right. We're all striving to be better, right? Every day, every week, if you're really good at what you do and you care about your business, you care about your client, you're constantly looking backwards as you're planning forwards.
That's right.
And some things came up on the conversation yesterday that are fully applicable to volumetric modular construction and building systems in general. So we wanted to share this with the broader audience in terms of the why and the how, right? Oftentimes we talk about the how-to in volumetric modular. And today we're going to talk a little bit more generally to a bigger audience in terms of the 3 L's and going down to the list and understanding how building systems, modular construction can solve for this.
Yes, but Jennifer, before we do that, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And at Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our guests and topics include experts in building systems, the building science, building codes, and the tech used to build it better. We are seeking out the best and the brightest in construction and discovering all the ways that innovative buildings come to life. Jennifer, why are we on Twitch?
Well, this came up yesterday, right?
Can you believe it? With all those high-level people on our show, we're talking about Twitch and TikTok.
Absolutely. When you think about the gaming mindset, when you think about the platform that Twitch is, and that's where all the gamers are, and how do we take that mindset and apply it to construction technology, to construction innovation, to building systems, traditional on-site building? How do you do that?
You get the young people, Jen. It's pretty simple, right? I mean, listen, if you have kids and you watch your kids playing on these virtual games live in real time, millisecond movements on the computer, they're talking, and doing all kinds of things at the same time. But they are building virtual environments that are like 99.9% virtually real when you're in these games. We're doing the same thing with BIM and 3D rendering, generative design, parametric design. All these things are starting to happen. Imagine if we got the youth, imagine if we got the gaming world's mindset looking at how we build, how we layer things and put things together. We will go further, faster. They're running circles around us right now.
Absolutely. And the other thing that's really cool about these gaming platforms is they're collaborating with people around the world, right? It's not like you're outside playing kickball with your next door neighbor who you've grown up with forever and ever. You're working together with somebody who maybe doesn't speak your language as their first language. You're working together in these teams to improve your score and defeat the competition, if you will.
That's right.
So the other thing that these young, oh my gosh, I hate to use the word young people. The other thing that this next generation of construction
younger than
leaders,
me, since you're already you're young.
But the skills, like the communication skills that these people are learning, how to speak with and work with, other people from around the world on a common goal. It's really great.
It is really great. I mean, the collaborative effort that they're doing is amazing. A lot of people say today that we are more disconnected than ever. I am a firm disbeliever in that comment. I think we are more connected today than we ever have been through, virtual connections. But if we look at it this way, Jennifer, how many people, and this came up on the show yesterday, are doing business? Actually, it was after the show. I think we were talking with Tim or somebody. How many people are doing business with people whom they have never even met? When prior to COVID, you would have had to get on a plane, go and visit, strike the checks, write the contracts in person. That's not happening anymore.
Right.
This has been going on in the gaming world and with the younger generation for quite some time. And I know I say younger generation. I'm not that old.
No.
51. I'm a little more than halfway through my life, maybe. I don't know.
All right, let's move on to things that the audience might really care about. And what we want to talk about as it relates to all of this today is the formula for cost savings. And this was something else that came up on yesterday's show. And it was really wonderful how there was such consensus around this, right? There was really nobody was, striking a different chord. People were saying this in unison. And that, again, lends itself to what you just said, which is the communication, people working together, and people sharing a similar point of view. So it's all about the formula for cost savings.
It is all about the formula for cost savings. No matter how we look at this business and no matter how much we want this business to change, it always comes down to the mighty dollar.
Right. So the first thing, we spoke about the cost of lumber and what that means for the average house. And that's not just the only problem with lumber right now. There's an issue with the supply chain. How do you secure the lumber? Orders that are being placed and not being fulfilled, all of that. And there's some really cool tech that's happening out there. The guys at Materials Exchange are addressing this from a supply chain issue. And we had somebody on the show last week from Element 5. We had Patrick on the show who shared with us some of his, how he addresses the supply chain in terms of lumber.
Sure.
He is in the mass timber world. They have a new factory, CLT factory, fully automated.
Most automated factory to date, according to them. I haven't verified that, but I'd be willing to bet he's accurate.
Right. And so he shared with us his secrets as to how he addresses supply chain. and how he brought in those people, in a very real way into his business. So it wasn't an us and them type scenario. It was very much a we type scenario. And when you do that, the collaboration really helps you go, farther.
It really does. And it's Offsite in general. It's a we. It's never just me and you, right? It is a team effort. And that's what a lot of people will realize when they get into Offsite, volumetric or other, panelization. You have a whole factory of team members now. Suppliers, team members, all pulling in the same direction. So if you're a builder or a developer, they're all pulling in the same direction to make sure you're successful. So you do it again with them. That's the value and the power.
Absolutely. So how does building systems help address lumber cost and the supply chain issue? When you think about how your biggest partner, your number one trade partner is the factory in volumetric construction,
right.
You really are able to work together with the factory to project how much lumber is needed, when that lumber is needed. And guess what? They don't start building until all of that lumber is there. So you don't get caught in a weird situation.
And in the most case, unless it's some special order or micro lam or, dimensional lumber or mass timber, they're buying in bulk. The lumber's there. They're buying this stuff by the truckload, train load, whatever the size of the manufacturer is. So this is one of the things to keep in mind. You're not paying today's price. You're paying the price of when they bought it. So if lumber keeps going up, well, guess what? You're getting those savings of when they bought it because they are buying in bulk, because they watch the market, tight. It's a big deal for them because every penny increases cost for everybody. So what was your second question?
Well, with that, it's not like you're placing an order at a local supply house and saying, hey, I need X, X linear feet of, whatever product it might be. And you're waiting and hoping that the next day that order will be filled. And then the truck shows up and only half the order is there.
Not waiting. Nope. The only time you're waiting on a manufacturer, to be realistic about it, is if you have special order items. Let's say you want that one-off custom triple pane window from Germany. All right, well, if that's not their standard supply chain, you're going to wait a couple weeks for that to get there. Most manufacturers, especially in volumetric, they want to make sure all the materials are in the warehouse before they start construction. So that could take from an order to out the door being delivered, from 7-8 weeks to 12, 15, 16 weeks. It just depends. But if you stay within the supply chain, if you stay within the products that they're sourcing on a regular basis in mass, man, it's the most economical, and it is the best way to build the most affordable, top of the line homes you can build.
Right. And let's talk about consumption and excess.
Consumption. Is that church?
Consumption and excess material as it relates to lumber. How many pictures have we seen there on social media of these dumpsters full of lumber?
Like every day. Yeah, there's a lot of it, right? In volumetric, you still have you have a small dumpster, but in the most case, it's small. It's just for the wrap, the protective wrap, and some shipping framing stuff. Outside of that, you shouldn't need much of any dumpster whatsoever. And if you're really good and you really understand your product, you'll take whatever the leftover shipping lumber is, and you'll use it to frame your basement, to frame your stairs. This is what a lot of people have to think a little bit differently about how it comes out of the factory. So you can probably do an entire job with less than a 10-yard dumpster.
Right. So when you think about conservation, when you think about repurpose, reuse, recycle, obviously all of that excess lumber that Dave is mentioning, you can repurpose on the job site. And then for the factory, if they have excess lumber, it goes toward the next job.
It does. 100%. Always goes to the next job. And the factories also are recycling the lumber that they do have left over, or cut pieces if there are cut pieces. They use them in their own furnaces. They burn wood, a lot of these, to heat their factories. So, and the sawdust, Absolutely. They burn the sawdust and repurpose the sawdust. So there's a whole lot of value that comes out of all that for sure.
Okay, so we talked about the value of lumber costs, lumber wastage, and supply chain, and how volumetric modular construction can address and mitigate a lot of those concerns.
Yep.
Let's talk about labor and the aging workforce.
Back to age, are we, Jonathan? Back to age.
Oh my goodness. Well, something that Jerry McCahey said yesterday, Jerry from Integra, that I hadn't really thought about it this way before. how offsite construction and automation is actually extending the life of our current labor force. They can, they don't have the same burnout. They don't have the same, you just hit that brick wall. I'm done. I can't be out on the job site anymore. I'm tired of the cold. I'm tired of the heat. I'm too old for this.
It's always sunny and 70 in a factory. Always sunny and 70 in a factory. And they have the machines. They're not doing the heavy lifting anymore. There are machines. There's safety procedures in place. They have all the tools that they need at whatever station they are set up at to be successful, which does give them a longer longevity of life in the workforce.
Yeah, and what's really cool about having that indoor controlled environment, number one, people can definitely, spend more time in that type of environment and not deal with the outside elements.
For sure.
And number two, think about how that relates to training the next generation of construction leaders. How much easier is it to teach somebody how to do something where every single tool is at your fingertips? All of the material you need is right there.
That's right.
You're not dealing with rain. You're not dealing with the cold. How much easier is it to train that incoming person?
Well, you just answered all those questions. It's much easier. It's much easier, especially when you have people doing the same job over and over and over again. They become very skilled at what they're doing, running the machines, running the CAD systems. When I say CAD, running the, I forgot the name, CNC machines. Wow. Outstanding. Love it. Yeah, running the CNC machines and anything that's automated, the pick machines. So it makes it much easier for somebody coming into the workforce to be in an environment, and here's the other side, culturally, being in an environment culturally where they are training the new person. It's not like the job site where, it can get a little harsh and scare some younger people away. But, you owe me a case of beer and I'm docking you $20. That doesn't happen in this environment, right? So that's one of the benefits of it.
Yeah. So two things that we've already addressed with offsite construction is the cost of lumber, labor, and an aging workforce, and inviting the next generation of construction leaders to really come into this space with confidence, with enthusiasm, and really bringing their skill set to help us all build it better.
I love building it better, Jennifer. That's what we talk about. That's what this show is about. Because guess what? I am tired of being in.
Oh, wait.
Last place.
We have a banner for that.
I am tired of I hate losing. Do you hate losing? We're losing as an industry. Big time. If we were winning, we wouldn't have the housing crisis we're in. We wouldn't have the unhealthy homes. We wouldn't have so many people who just hate contractors because they have nightmare experiences. We're losing it as an industry. Our time is here to be better as an industry, to grow our industry, to be number one in this space. And it's beating a dead horse, as I say, but hey, listen to all the top people out there. You look at Apple, you look at Gary Vaynerchuk, you look at all, they keep saying, look at Jerry McCaughey. It's the same thing over and over again. And I'm going to keep saying it until we actually get to the end point. When we get to the end point, I'll find something else. So.
Well, you can always be better, right?
You can always be better. 100%.
And with that, another thing that came up yesterday was the information sharing. And again, this is your soapbox again. If we were more than 3% of the industry, right?
Yeah. Break. Right. For more than 3% of the industry, well, if you have the best solution, we wouldn't be 3% of the industry. Right. Would we? No. We'd own the industry like Apple. Google. We don't own the industry. We don't have the secret sauce. Talk with others, collaborate, share your information. Jen, am I getting red?
And work together, right?
And work together.
Because all of this contributes to the formula for cost savings.
It does.
And that's what we're talking about in terms of volumetric modular construction today. So here's one that every builder faces, regardless of the method of construction that you choose. But right? But the difference with offsite construction and land availability is once you secure that land, once you develop that land, once your finished product, is delivered on site, somewhere between 70, 80, 90% complete, you are faster to equity.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Guess what? You don't even have to leave your house to find land anymore. Not going to get into who's doing that, but it is cool.
right? When you think about the construction technology that enables you to find the land, understand whether or not it's a buildable lot,
That's right.
what the regulations might be for that buildable lot. And that's something else that came up yesterday. The cost of codes, the cost of regulation,
Yep.
and what that adds to the bottom line. All the more reason you want to de-risk your project and get heads on beds faster.
Yeah, for sure. Good. You know, Gary Fleischer made a comment on yesterday's show as well in regards to code. And the question was, somebody asked, why can HUD be so good at what they do and how they do it, and have such a large market share with HUD housing? And Gary was right. Gary answered. I saw it in the comments. They have their own code. HUD has their own code. They don't follow, the same codes we're following. Offsite needs to start looking at that as well, because it is a different type of build, but codes are a big issue for us, and incorporating new codes into the system so building officials understand them, and it's not up for opinion, so to speak, which it is on a lot of the codes right now. So if you're a code person out there, Mr. Kolker, let's talk some more, because you've been doing a great job helping to incorporate codes. So thumbs up to you.
Yeah, definitely. And that is, again, an example of how working together, getting those codes written in, everybody has been working together really hard to address offsite construction as it relates to the current codes and regulations.
For sure.
And the good news is the regulatory costs, the costs to develop land, that is something that all builders truly face. But where offsite construction and modular construction come into play is that you are faster to your finished product.
That's right.
Sooner. A lot of those design conflicts are resolved well before that building is ever started or that home is ever started. So there's less opportunity for changes in the field driven by design conflicts or 100%. TBD by the client.
To be determined.
Exactly.
Who does that?
I know, but still, these things happen, and sometimes they happen in offsite construction as well. It's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect, but it takes a lot of that out of the formula. It pulls those decisions forward, and something that Brittany spoke about yesterday, a drum that she beats quite often is get the stakeholders involved sooner in the process. Don't wait until the end.
Don't design something and then go and say, hey, I want to do this offsite. You want to know who the best offsite builder in the world is, Jennifer?
I would love to know.
NASA.
Oh, well.
And SpaceX. NASA and SpaceX. Could you imagine if on their journey and they get to the space shuttle or the space station in space and they open up their plans for something they got to build and it says field verify? Really? It ain't happening. They're the best. I'm telling you. We should just follow what NASA's doing. They somehow have figured out how to use rollers and measurements to be precise. And you know why it says field verify? I've had a lot of conversations on this, and this may upset some people.
Help me understand.
Because it's a way for architects and engineers to defer the risk of a lot of the measuring and jobs on site. This is a true thing, and it leads back to some other cases. Maybe I'm wrong, but these are some of the issues that we have. And I think that that's not saying architects and engineers are bad. This is just the way it's done. But it doesn't need to be done that way anymore because we're not hand drawing anymore. We are using precision tools, and we can be very accurate.
Not only that, you make a good point, because once you know something can be built, right? Once you know it can be built and it is built with offsite construction and that set of plans, guess what? You can build it again.
And again.
And again.
And again.
It's scalable. It's repeatable.
Yeah.
It's durable. It de-risks the entire project because, again, you know it can be done. It's not a guessing game. You're not deferring to somebody else for answers. You're not looking to the stakeholders, the owners, the investors, the builder. You're all sharing in the responsibility and the success of that build.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's...
We should end right now.
Okay, see ya. It's been a day. Hey, look, my watch matches the colors on our thing. That's
cool. My gosh.
All right. What's next, Jennifer?
So what does it come down to? Why aren't people using more, of the tools that are out there, like systems built construction, like, better products or better systems? Education and training, another question that came up yesterday. Does it need to change? There definitely is a cost in adopting new materials and new systems.
There is
no
a
doubt.
cost. Well, there's a learning curve. So there's an educational cost on this. There's the uncertainty. I'm already making a profit. Maybe some people are working on a profit and they're just happy with that. Don't realize they could do better or be more efficient. So there's just a general lack of knowledge, Jennifer, and even in our universities on offsite construction. And it's going to take an education, which we're getting ready to do, and then we're going to build it up. What are you flashing the lights behind us? So
I'm trying to keep it interesting.
So it is gonna take a revamping of the mindset, and we're gonna start doing that on this show. We're gonna start doing some things that talk about how do you get to the value, what are the costs, and how do you get to the value, and what is that value? And I think that's going to be what's super, super important moving forward in our industry.
So let's get to it. What is the formula for cost savings? Because cost and value are two different things. What are the hard costs? What are the material costs? They're the same for every builder, right?
Yeah,
if you have X pieces of lumber going into this house and that house, chances are your material costs are going to be the same. So first and foremost, the formula for cost savings includes energy efficiency, right?
Yeah.
When you immediately go after building to a higher code, going after a home that is more energy efficient, it leads to a couple of things: construction innovation, cost reduction, and performance improvement. So when you think about this home and how energy efficient you can make it, and we talk about this all the time, 24 on center, 16 on center, how do you play with your specs? Does it have an impact on reducing the amount of lumber that you need in the home and allowing you to put more insulation in that home and creating a tighter building envelope and building with precision so your corners are square and your lumber's not wavy.
Square lumber, that's an idea. Sorry, go ahead.
So all of this, and we call it construction innovation, but it's not. It's a combination of building science and just building it right to build it better, leads to cost reduction and performance improvement.
100%.
And guess what?
Housing affordability.
Exactly.
Did I blow up the speaker on that?
So it's not just how much your initial investment is in that home. It's also how much does it cost to operate that home. So when you think about the cost and you think about housing affordability, a more energy efficient home is definitely a more affordable home for its occupants.
It is. And it's not affordable to build anymore. You can build energy efficient modular homes at an affordable price. That's Harris Hayward.
Absolutely.
Did I say Hayward? Woodward. From Finish Works, yeah.
Well, we have the Hayward store and we have Harris. I mean, there's so many resources out there in terms of how do you know if you have a healthy home and how do you achieve that healthy home. Harris from Finish Works right now is working on a net zero home, a beautiful home. We really should go see it. Just unbelievable fits or finishes that are going into this home, and it is super high performance.
It is super high performance. We're definitely going to go see it. We're just waiting for warmer weather. It's up in Maryland. It's cold up there.
Oh, so what else? The formula for cost savings. This came up yesterday, and Brittany had a great point. And Dave, you took that point and took it even further, which I thought was fantastic. So she was saying, and it's true, right? Here's a panel of all of these men and Brittany. And she was awesome. She said, I wish there was more people. It doesn't even have to be more people like me.
Yeah.
Diversity means people out of industry, people, from other places who can share their methodologies, who can share their approach. And there's a little bit of a divisiveness here in terms of people who think that out of industry folks can come into the ecosystem of construction and be successful, and the veterans, the legacy players, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, we're going to go further, faster with more women in our industry, with more diversity in our industry, It doesn't matter, black, green, blue, red, brown, purple. It doesn't matter. We just need people with different ideas, different thoughts. And it's great about that we learn on this conversation is the global conversation has opened our eyes personally, because we are interviewing and talking to dozens of people every day, if not twice a day, around the world. There's different ways of thinking, and it really makes you look inside of how we used to do things. And we used to build modular, we still do, but I mean, we used to do it for a living only. And man, I would change so many things because I know so much better now. And it's not just things I'm learning here, it's how Europe's doing, South America, Asia. It doesn't matter. And I think this is where the diversity comes in. We are a global world now. Again, let's go back to the pandemic and Zoom calls. We are conversing all over the world. We need that information. We need those people. We need to be inclusive in our own building of construction to have better ideas and move things forward. There's a lot of great ideas out there.
So Dave, this takes us back again to education and training, because what you're talking about is not a traditional type of learning. We are learning by doing. We're learning by broadening our horizons, speaking to people, and maybe they're not teaching us, 1 + 2 = 3. They're not teaching us exactly how to do it, but they're teaching us how to ask the questions, where to go for the answers, what to consider as we all strive to build affordable homes, high performance, energy efficient homes, and just improve the resiliency, durability, and comfort of our homes. And this is a very different type of learning. It's not textbook learning. It's learning from each other.
It is learning from each other. How come we want to be so comfortable in our car, which we spend like probably 10% of our day in, but the other 80-90% office buildings in our homes, we just built the code. It's silly. It really is. Even for me, and I did it when I was younger and starting out. I look back on it, I'm like, shame on me. My grandfather always said education costs money. Did I ever tell that story on the show?
Tell it again.
You can either pay and go to school and get an education or get a mentor, or you can just try and do it on your own and get your ass handed to you. It's as simple as that. Either way, you're going to pay for that education. But there's a lot of truth in that. There's a lot of people out there, and this is where diversity, collaboration, and conversation is an education in and of itself.
So this takes us right into our next point, which is R&D and communication.
R&D.
And why is this under the bucket of diversity? Well, every other industry out there invests tons of money, tons of capital into research and development. I mean, for Colgate, right now is working so hard and has achieved, toothpaste tubes, right? That are recyclable because of all of the R&D that they put into it, all of the packaging development. They put all of this time and energy into a tube of toothpaste, and then they communicated it to their employees.
So I can now brush my teeth driving down the road and throw it out the window?
No, you cannot do that. But here's the thing.
I'm late.
When you think about diversity, bringing in people from outside of our industry, people of all walks of life who have that in their DNA, and then you bring them into our ecosystem, they're going to take that way of thinking. They're going to take that approach to innovation and research and development and just apply it to the widget that we build.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. I mean, so let's hire people from Colgate.
So
this is the idea, right? This is where we have to be outside of our own industry in a lot of these instances, and that may even come to your next point in a second. But it's people from the outside that are making a lot of the largest, biggest change within the industry right now. There's a lot of big ideas out there. There's a lot of new startups out there, and they're doing some amazing things. And I have to say, we're kind of privileged to know this stuff, so it's cool.
Yes, and this question did come up, before we get to this next comment, this came up with Katerra, right? There were some out-of-industry people at the helm, and the question was approached with, I think it was Curtis, who was on our show from Katerra, and the question was, did Katerra fail because somebody from out of industry tried to do this and didn't have the skill set or the knowledge or blah, 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 blah. And his answer was phenomenal. Regardless of how you feel about the situation, he said that it took somebody out of industry to come in and think big and think different, right?
Yep.
And that maybe Katerra never even would have been. And whether, regardless of what happens with that entity, we're all watching, we're all waiting, and we're all working harder to be better.
Yeah, absolutely. And Katera might be dead in the water right now, maybe not. There's some rumblings out there, but the reality of it is they pushed the industry, they pushed the envelope. They had a lot of eyes pay attention to what's happening in our industry. So if we look at the good, that's really a lot of the good that has come out of Katera. Is they did think differently. They did push the envelope, and people are building on it. It hasn't crushed it. It's a shame. We wanted them all to succeed. I wanted them to succeed, but it's a good thing.
Again, it's inspiring us all to be better, think different, and apply outside knowledge to an industry that we care about.
Absolutely. Hey, what's up, Pedro? Man, I love Pedro. Education, without a doubt, is beginning to turn the key. Dave is doing an excellent job. Dave and Jennifer of disseminating information and bringing high-level guests with real cases from the industry. Thanks, Dave. And thanks, Pedro. I hopefully you were on yesterday, partaking in the show. There were so many comments, I can't remember where we got questions from or not. But yeah, yesterday was a great show. This is the whole idea, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And we can't do it without this type of support, really, again, encouraging us and just helping us deliver value week after week. And did I mention it's 51 weeks?
51 weeks. Yes, Jennifer, you mentioned it.
Oh my gosh. So let's talk about this. This is kind of a chicken and an egg type of thing. Is it fragmented research because we're a fragmented industry? Or is it a fragmented industry because the research is fragmented?
Is it a fragmented research or is it a fragmented industry? I think it's a fragmented industry.
And is that why our research and development is so fragmented?
There's not enough unity between all the different offsite companies out there to get one solid message across. There is no got milk, got cranberries message happening. You got component industry, and there's confusion on whether they're a system or not a system or a component of a system. Are they offsite? Are they not offsite? You got SIPs, you got panelization, you got modular, you got volumetric, which is modular, but we have to have two words because that's just what we do here in America. And then you got concrete, container homes. But here's the difference. They all have their own silos of, groups. Like you got, MHBA, Modular Home Builders Association, MBI, right? Modular Builders Institute. There is not a singular voice to drive us forward until now. We're taking on that role, man, because we need a voice to drive us forward together. And that's the power.
We're taking this community is driving it, right?
Yep.
So the community that we're building, the people who are watching and listening and cheering us on is what is driving this inclusivity and diversity, bringing people from all walks of life together to really build it better. And again, we started the show with the 3 L's. What we're saying is that offsite construction and building systems can solve for the same questions that every builder has, regardless of what method of construction you choose.
There, I'll put it up, Jennifer. The 3 L's: lumber, labor, land.
There you go. So we talked about a couple of different things in the formula. The next ones go by pretty quickly. Economies of scale, right? The formula for cost savings is economies of scale.
Right.
When you do the same thing day in and day out, the repetitive nature of building systems in a controlled environment, you will come to economies of scale faster than you will when building on site. It's just common sense.
Look at the auto industry. Look at the computer industry. Look at any other industry that you can walk into some store and buy goods. They can scale. They can ship it all over the world, and it can be customizable. It's happening.
Absolutely.
It can be customizable. You can make it yours.
Right. And we talked about this one as well. Conservation of resources. Right now it's driven by cost, but even if it wasn't, we should still be approaching our building methodologies with conservation in mind. Conservation of resources, conservation of how you operate that home, what's required to operate that home. Really, it's just the way of the future. And when you look at the next generation of construction leaders, this is something inherent to their values and beliefs.
That's right.
They do think this way, and it's great.
They do think this way. They think about the environment. They're thinking about what they're spending. They're thinking about, look at Etienne, the CEO of SIGA North America. We have this conversation about plastic bags all the time. And since COVID came back, they're issuing plastic bags again. It about made him lose his mind. Literally lose his mind. I mean, it's just the funniest, fun conversation. But they think about it, because, Etienne, he's got to be one of the youngest CEOs of a company that I've met.
Yeah, and
Brilliant kid.
SIGA
Guy,
is a great example of collaboration, working together to build it better
Yeah.
instead of, hiding from the competition and, going, keeping his secret sauce tight. He's collaborating with people around the world to really bring the best products to the forefront. And it's a great example of collaboration. So, we started out the show talking about what is the formula for cost savings. We've gone through a lot of these bullets today. So diversity, communication, economies of scale, conservation of resources, a systems approach, all of this works together to achieve those cost savings.
It does. It really does. It really does. I love it. Hey, we got Devin Tilley, the Art of Construction podcast. What's up, Devin? I hope you are well and Colorado's treating you good. Man, didn't they just get hammered with a lot more snow again?
It's been a crazy
You know what?
year.
Listen, if you got hammered with snow and your windows are leaking, Devin Tilley is the person you should call, the window guy, and he's got a very successful podcast. Good to see you, brother. Hope all is well. All right. What do we got left, Jennifer? Is that a wrap?
That is where we are. Again, this is about building modular, but again, the systems approach to construction really lends itself to cost savings, especially in an environment where the cost of lumber is so high, land is such a valuable resource. It's also a conversation and a formula that includes communication, education and training, diversity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in this bucket. You will not be perfect at each of them.
You can try.
Right? So you have to figure out what the right formula for cost savings is for you and your business.
Yeah, 100%. All right, everybody. Listen, thank you for joining us today. Yesterday was a great day. What do we got tomorrow? We got a big day tomorrow, don't we?
So this is a Mass Timber Week. I know.
Mass Timber Month, man. Mass Timber is like huge right now. I'm having so much fun with it. I want some Mass Timber in my next.
Yeah. So if you are looking for the roadmap to Mass Timber, tomorrow is your day because we have Kirk coming on 1 p.m. Eastern showing the roadmap to Mass Timber that he has built online. The resources, the products, where to go, what to use, a one-stop solution for Mass Timber.
Tomorrow, 1 p.m.
1
Eastern time.
Yeah.
We're going to continue the conversation with another expert in this industry, talking about Mass Timber, talking about their product. Super smart individual, thinks a lot differently than a lot of others out there. So tomorrow is another day you do not want to miss. So join us at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And Jen, we got our road show. We got some big things happening, which we're having fun with it. I know.
We do, but before we get there, let's talk about Thursday. Because
What's Thursday? Oh, Mark Mitchell's on Thursday. Dang it.
Building, again, on the topic of building materials, Mark Mitchell, an expert in the sales and marketing space who understands the power of social media and communication to really deliver the message, a unique value proposition in the building materials space. And he works with the best of the best out there, teaching them how to communicate.
Yeah, he's been doing it a long time. He works with a lot of the biggest builders in the country. He's very well known in the industry. So, yeah, Thursday, increasing influence, another big day. Then, of course, we got Friday, BS Friday. Never a dull moment on BS Friday.
No, so Arnie, I want to say Didier. Again, a preview to the Mass Timber Conference that's happening. There's an unbelievable lineup at that conference, and we are giving a sneak peek on Friday.
If you have something you want to give a sneak peek on, reach out to us, man. We love giving sneak peeks. We love promoting what's happening in the industry. If you have an event coming up and you'd like to use our platform with us, we would be more than happy to collaborate with you. Outside of that, that is the end of our show, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope all is well. I hope everybody in South America, Pedro, is doing good, and everybody up here in the Americas. I'm Dave Cooper.
I'm Jennifer Cooper.
And we will see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. on Product Spotlight. Bye now.